At it again, and we've got one here with Joe Rogan and Russell Brand. Yeah, so I'm sure this is going to be fantastic. All right, like, share, comment, hit that subscribe button if you are new, and let's dive in.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
When we talk about what are the ideologies that drive us, the ideology of progress, this is why I have sometimes am skeptical, not about technology, the mastery and the geniuses that work in that field, but how technology and science as a subset of our economic ideology can create exactly the conditions that you are describing and that journalist has exposed. That if your ideology permits that, then what kind of ideology is that? What kind of unconsciousness are we living in? It's not an awakened culture, and all of the discourse around, like, you know, how we treat one another as individuals and progressivism culturally in domestic territories. Hey, people should be allowed to do this and that. It's a nonsense if that is permitted. Not only permitted, required. It's a requirement. You cannot have that economic model without that price being paid. And as a culture, whether it's me as an individual or our entire culture, we've accepted that contract. We've accepted those terms.
Well, we have in some areas of our life for sure. You know, hopefully people haven't done that in their interpersonal, intimate relationships, but we certainly have in the way we communicate with others. We've certainly accepted like very bizarre ways of communicating online. And sometimes that bleeds out into real life, like where someone talks to people in the real world as if they're on Twitter and they get bashed. Yeah. Like you see that sometimes. I think it's a very strange time where I don't think people have a lot of faith right now in institutions, and I don't think they have a lot of faith in authority. I don't think they really believe that there is someone who is wiser than them, that has a grand plan, that's logical, that's workable, where they're looking out for all of us. So I think there's like a feeling of chaos.
Well, and you can blame that feeling on what we just recently went through. I mean, how many times did people get banned or shunned off of certain social media platforms for what in the end was actually the truth? They called it misinformation, disinformation, you know, they're deniers and all of this other stuff. And lo and behold, it was actually the truth the whole time. And even in certain cases, they knew it was the truth and lied anyway. If you want to talk about the laptop situation, they had it already. They had it. They knew it was the truth and just continued to lie about it. If I remember correctly, they had it the whole time. Maybe not the whole time, but if I remember, you know, the dates correctly, they had the laptop for a while and just continued to let the lie fester in society. While some people were getting banned and getting strikes and all types of things for saying what was essentially the truth. I mean, we've gotten into a really, really weird and dangerous, scary place. Like, literally, we don't have freedom of speech anymore. Freedom of speech is already over. That's done. The proof is, me sitting right here, there's certain things that I know for a fact that I cannot say. It's the truth. It's just the truth. Freedom of speech would be me being able, and everybody else being able to say whatever it is that they want to, no matter how terrible it was. And I think that's why you have some of these other platforms popping up all over the place. That's why you had somebody like Elon purchase Twitter. Because society is realizing this, especially people on the right, like, yeah, freedom of speech is over. We need to fight to retain it. Yeah. It's getting scary out here, y'all. It's getting scary.
That exists today that I don't think has ever existed in my life like this before. Even back during like the Bush administration, when everybody thought Bush was a moron, they still thought there's a good cabinet and they're following all the checks and balances, even though they're probably extracting too much money, and there's probably a lot of cronyism and a lot of undercover deals and a lot of like no bid contracts with Halliburton and that kind of nonsense. He still thought they have things pretty under control. It's a very solid institution. Nobody believes that now. You see Pete Buttigieg and fucking Kamala Harris and Biden can't get a sentence out. You're like, this is madness. These people are utter fools. And these are the people that are running everything. And these are the people that are getting us on the brink of war with Russia. And I don't have any faith in them. And I think most people don't.
I think you're right. And
I absolutely have zero faith in them as leaders. Absolutely zero faith. They haven't given me even one just smidget of evidence that they would be good leaders. Not one smidget. The fact that Joe has been in politics for 50 years and everything's still the same gives me no confidence. Watching him stumble over his words gives me no confidence. Kamala, supposed to be the border czar. Border being wide open, basically, gives me no confidence. Pete Buttigieg, supposed to be the leader of transportation secretary, or whatever the title is called. Why do we have so many problems in transportation? Even if you want to go to someone like, why am I drawing a blank? The governor of California, Gavin Newsom. Even if you want to talk about somebody like Gavin Newsom, who's supposed to be the leader of California, look how many problems they have. They're over budget. He gives me no confidence to lead this country. But you know who does give me confidence? The very person that the establishment has launched an all-out attack against. The very person that most regular folks like you and I say we want back in the White House. Uncle Trump. The very person that the establishment keeps trying to push us away from. And I still haven't figured out completely why. You know, I have my theories, and I think I've said a few here, right here on the channel before. But why are they still pushing so hard? There's a fundraising event that Nikki Haley's invited to, Ron DeSantis is invited to, the other guy that's in the race. I can't recall his name. Forgive me. I honestly don't know his name. He looks kind of Middle Eastern. That's the only way that I can describe him. He looks like he's from the Middle East. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but that's legitimately the only way that I can describe him. It's a guy. I have no clue who he is. I can't think of his name. But all of these guys and gals, Nikki Haley, are invited to a dinner with a bunch of very, very wealthy donors. But you know who isn't invited? Uncle Trump. Why is that? The very guy who time after time again, we have all said, as a matter of fact, I dropped a short where I was specifically asking you guys, who do you prefer, Ron DeSantis or Trump? Because that's who's been the top two in every single poll. And overwhelmingly, I literally haven't come across the comment. I'm still going to be scrolling through after I finish these videos for the day. But I haven't come across one comment from you guys that said, no, I prefer DeSantis. And yet the establishment keeps trying to shut out Trump, like they're doing at this meetup or whatever you want to call it, this dinner with these very, very wealthy donors. Why isn't Uncle Trump invited? That's weird to me. Why is the media still attacking this, man? Oh, I mean, let's blame Trump for everything. Oh, the train derailed. Let's blame Trump for it, even though we know that's not the truth. They know that that's not the truth. I don't know. And I think a lot of you guys have woken up to that reality as well. Like, why is the establishment trying to push us away? And I've been seeing, more and more and more support for Uncle Trump. So listen, I hope the establishment keeps trying to push us away. It's only going to bring us closer. Because what they have failed to realize is exactly what Rogan and Russell are speaking about. We don't trust them anymore. So when they try to push us one direction, we go the opposite. Oh, you want us to go left? Gotcha. Well, we're going right. We're going right. Because you tried to push us in certain directions before, and we found out it was a lie. So, yeah. What do y'all think? Talk to me.
With the that era of the Cheney, Bush, Wolfowitz, Rumsfeld, it felt like, oh, these are the Death Star bods. This, what's happened is there's this risen up military-industrial complex, Rand Foundation ideologues from the Republican right, who were the sanctioned baddies back in those days, are trying to profit from the colonization of the Middle East. It's part of a new American project. We sort of understood it, but from where I'm coming from, it was somehow recognizable, and 1 million people went on a march to prevent that war taking place because they knew there were no weapons of mass destruction, which we now know to be the truth. And as you say, now the figures that are in that place are sort of posing as the good guys, like affable and avuncular presidents and sort of friendly people of, like, that across the identitarian spectrum that's meant to feel inclusive and progressive.
Yeah, they're wrapping themselves up with progressive identity politics and then promoting a war.
Yes,
at the same time. It's very wild.
Yeah, it feels like a mask and a veil. Like, this is what's interesting for me is as we navigate this new and emergent space of being able to present counter narratives, and continually, like all of us now, have like experienced, oh, you're a right wing conspiracy theorist, you've joined the alt-right, you're a gateway to this, the dark web, all of that language that grows up around it, like. This, and I've heard you speak about this obviously a lot, but the truth is that who isn't sympathetic, anyone that's got a family or loves someone is sympathetic to the idea that people are going to have various types of identity around culture and religious expression and racial expression, and this is a conversation that the whole culture has to be involved in together. What my issue is, I don't think they believe in that stuff. I don't think they care. I don't think that they are creating an agenda to advance the interests of vulnerable people. I think they are using it as a distraction and a veil in order to carry on with the same kind of corporate and financial interests that have always determined what the establishment is. And if there's one thing we can point to in our lifetime, it's that the liberal establishment has become co-opted by the same forces that traditionally we regarded the right to have been co-opted by: military industrial complex, financial industry. And there's palpable evidence for that. And in order to not acknowledge that transition's taken place, they're able to keep the cultural conversation going. We care about your right to express yourself and your identity. That's a way of not acknowledging we're just the same. We're pro-war. And now when there's that war, like Jimmy Dore and all those guys did that anti-war march in Washington or whatever, it's like 5,000 people go. Now, I don't know if that's because of the last few years and what the pandemic's done to people accumulating and gathering crowds, or whether people have lost the belief and faith that people can have any impact on politics anymore. There's just now this immersive sense of apathy, this, as you say, loss of trust in institutions and authority. But something extraordinary has happened when people that say that we're the peace and love party are the party that are advocating for war, won't include some of the complex conditions that have led to this current crisis, which there's clearly a case for, NATO's infringement on Russian territory, the 2014 coup. I know I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but it's extraordinary that those conversations don't happen.
Right.
It's actually that post-Trump and post-pandemic,
those conversations don't happen because we're not allowed to have those conversations. It's that simple.
Everything sort of enters into that template. There are certain things you're not allowed to say now. If you sort of say, were Russia in any way provoked? Is there any legitimacy to this, to their military actions from their perspective? That's the same as saying, oh, I don't think you should take certain medications, or maybe masks aren't necessary. And people aren't. It doesn't seem that the culture is learning. It doesn't seem that as the evidence is evolving, that people are saying, oh wow, look, the stuff you were being told 2 years ago now, the things you couldn't say online 2 or 3 years ago, now there's evidence for that. In fact, I've bought documentation in case the conversation went in this direction, Joe. In my new position as a legitimate investigative journalist, I've got actual papers that I can show you, from conspiracy to fact.
Conspiracy theorists being proven correct. One of you guys said it perfectly. The difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is 6 to 7 months, or something along those lines. I don't remember the exact, number of months, but it was something along those lines, and that's proven to be true. That has proven to be true. So yeah, I guess for these recent situations that have happened and the conspiracy theories surrounding them, in another 6 months, we'll know the complete truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. It'll come out. It always does. But as always, y'all let me know what you thought about this conversation in the comment section below. I know I talked a lot. I had a lot to say about it, but hey, that's what you come here for, right? That's what you come here for. But yeah, y'all stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.